All right, welcome to Coffee for Closers, everybody. A little different episode today, talking about the turning maybes into yeses. An exciting little dialogue I've kind of thought long and hard over the last couple days about the particular nature of how you turn maybes into yeses or eliminate those maybes from your sales process and get to better decision making from your clients, or at least find out why they don't want to move forward with your plan. So hope you enjoy the episode. Hope if you haven't already subscribed, feel free, or please subscribe. Also leave us a like or a comment if you enjoy the content. Welcome to Coffee for Closers. Today, a little different setup. I usually have, obviously, my colleague Rick, but he's out of town for, I don't know, guy took PTO for like the first time in I don't know how long, maybe a year. So we'll let him go. Anyway, gave us an idea to set it up a little bit different, have a conversation today specifically about sales. He asked me, what could you monologue on? Today, I can monologue on sales pretty much any time. So we wanted to talk a little bit about the specifics when it came to turning maybes into yeses. And so we'll talk about some of the main key points that we'll talk to advisors on when they come over, or at least my personal opinions on how to turn maybes into yeses. I think a lot of times, let's just be very clear, a lot of times prospects will use maybe as a defense mechanism. It's not necessarily any sort of, I really want to think about it. So the answer to turning maybes into yeses for me is typically taking those maybes away. The opportunities to give me a place to just give me a maybe answer is unacceptable. So we have to create this environment from the get-go. And we've talked about this probably in the last, 2-3 episodes of Coffee for Closers, but primarily the upfront contract concept offered by Sandler in the Sandler sales process, Sandler Sales Submarine. It basically is the end-all be-all, or it's at least the starting point to having the elimination of the maybe answer from your prospecting funnel. And what do I mean by that? Well, the upfront contract sets a foundation from the get-go of, hey, this is what we're planning to do, and this is going to be my ask at the end of it. Is that okay with you? If so, then we'll move forward through the process. And so you've got to take it to a point where it's like, if there's going to be a maybe, it's going to be right now, right at the beginning of the situation, right? So right at the beginning of the sales process, they want to come to my office to sit down to talk about financial planning, or let's say Social Security planning, whatever it was that brought them to my office, federal, workshop, what have you. And so in that process, when they sit down, the first things first is like, okay, well, look, we're going to talk about why you came in today, of course. But just know, we're a financial planning firm. We'll walk through this process together. And if you're interested in moving forward, this is what it looks like to become a client. Does that make sense to you? Blah, blah, blah. Now, I know if you're in our federal program, that might be a little different. We certainly there's different ways to warm up a lead. Right? You're not going to do that at your workshop. This is when they've come down to sit in your office, to go through the benefit analysis, to go through what have you. At that point, some point in that first conversation, you're going to lay your upfront contract of, if we embark on the rest of this, this is going to be my goal of you becoming my client. Does that make sense? This would be your first opportunity for, basically it eliminates any opportunities for maybes down the road. Now, I'd also consider that I think about it to be part of it as well. I'll think about it as just the same as a maybe, and that's their next defense mechanism. And so the next idea is to preempt the I think about it, right? So if I feel like I've eliminated the maybes of maybe I'll become your client, or maybe I'll do the plan you're suggesting through the upfront contract, then my next step is to make sure that I rid the sales process of potential I'll think about it. And so how do you do that? Well, you do that through a number of different things. One, preempting those things by saying, look, we're not making a decision today. right? People start to say, I think about it when they feel like they're going to be pressured into a decision, or they feel like they have been pressured into a situation, rather. And so our job as a salesperson, man or woman, is to push through those decision-making points by really leading them into this next appointment is going to be where we make a decision. And so not today. We're not making a decision today. We're going to talk about X, Y, and Z today. And I'm going to send you home with some homework, and I expect you to come back to me with suggestions. Take yourself out of I want this thing to happen. I want this specific thing to happen in the sale, and change it to be, if you don't like my specific suggestion, please, we're going to take the next X, Y, or Z amount of days, X amount of days, to figure out why we don't like those suggestions, communicate through that process, and on the end of that, you'll come back and make your suggestions on why, or tell me why you didn't like that suggestion, so that I can come up with a pivot or a different opportunity for us to move down the road, right? And so this is also described in two other books that we mentioned in the last few appointments, Spin Selling and Jordan Belfort's Way of the Wolf. Both of them talk about these opportunities to say, look, you shouldn't be the one dictating to your client that they should be doing. I mean, you are the person that should be doing a proposal, don't get me wrong, but you should also not be the person saying that this is definitively the only option. It should be like, for instance, all right, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, this is based on X, Y, and Z. We've come to the conclusion that this is probably the right opportunity for us, right? And like I said, we're not making decisions today, right? But I did want to walk you through how it all works. If this was the route we were going to take, this would be the benefits, these would be the costs. And as we are going through, I want you to start thinking of your questions, write them down so that we can start to address them. And if there's still lingering issues at the end of this, then potentially we might make some changes to this to better suit your specific needs. And so, yes, I'm going to encourage you at the end of this process, I want to be very clear to them what it looks like at the end of today's proposal, what's going to happen. At the end of today's proposal, I'm going to suggest that you give this some more thought, even after what we've talked about today. You might have some initial questions, get those questions answered today. But I'm going to send you with some homework to do a little more research so that we can come back together on this. I want every one of my clients to not only feel like they're in good hands with me particularly, but also to feel like they're in complete control of their destination and how we get there, right? My knowledge and expertise is to teach you what all of these different options to design your financial guideline or roadmap in retirement are, so that you guys can make the decisions, not myself, right? And so I want to just give you guidance and education along the path. And at the end of it, I'm going to send you today, I'm going to give you some homework so that you could come back to me so that we can modify. I expect fully to tweak or modify this plan to some degree. Maybe we nailed it right on the head. What I found in my experience with our clients, and why so many folks want to become our clients, is that there are some minor tweaks that maybe we've misunderstood along our initial processing and have made us want to change. And so, again, I'm being very clear with my path of how this appointment's going to go when I do my proposal appointment. This might be a third appointment, a second appointment, depending on your process. And basically guiding them to a place where it's like, look, you might feel very confident in what we're doing today. I'm still going to send you back with some homework to do, right? What does it say? It says, I'm not hungry for this sale. I don't care. I know that this sale needs to survive the night, right? And then I'm also might even make message, if you're in the annuity sales space, I might even make a point to talk about the 30-day free look. I find a lot of buyers say maybes, and I'll think about it because they feel like I'm going to move this money and that'll be that, and I'm done and stuck up. If I make the wrong decision, I'm stuck up a river without the paddle, right? And we don't want that feeling. And the government or the insurance companies, if we're selling insurance products, have given the ability for clients to walk from a policy within 30 days. So a lot of times, if I feel particular iffiness on that proposal, I'll make mention to it. Don't be scared of this, folks. They're going to know about it when you deliver the policy, so you might as well preempt it. And so I'll say to them, look, even if we do decide we move forward, let's say they go the week or a couple days after the proposal appointment, and I sent them home with the homework, and they come back and they say, well, we thought about it and we just don't know if this is right. Or maybe they call you before that appointment comes, like, yeah, we just chatted about it and we just aren't sure if it's right. This is a good point for us to talk about and say, well, what did you guys come up with in your homework? What were the particular issues? Well, I said, we just we're worried about this, or we're worried about that, and we really want to talk to our friend or get a second opinion on it. I said, well, look, there's plenty of time for a second opinion, but let me ask you this. What led you to are you just starting on your journey of getting a first financial review? And if so, then I highly suggest a second opinion, right? And lean into the second opinion. If you don't, what are your other options? To sound super salesy and talk them out of it? Right? That sounds sketchy to begin with. So if somebody's already having doubts about moving forward with it, you have to lean forward into the second point. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't move forward trying to modify the plan in a way that you guys feel more comfortable with, you guys being the prospect that's either called you or came into that next appointment after the homework with some concerns or trying to push you off or trying to walk away from the sales process altogether. You want to lean into second opinions. If they've been down the path for a while and have been looking and researching, then use the ammunition you gathered and say, okay, well, I know you've been doing research for a long time. Why haven't you gotten more opinions on this? Or how many more opinions do you feel like you need before you make some sort of decision on what's the most important for you? And if you've already figured out what's most important for you, why don't we come to the conclusions of what is particular? This is why I signed the homework. What is particularly in the way that we could modify in the plan? Because again, I'm just here as a vehicle to help you execute the plan. If you feel like our methods of, obviously allowing you guys to dictate your plan and to be here as a vehicle to help you execute it, and you think that we have done a good job in educating you so far, why not see how this goes? Because quite frankly, anything that we'd institute today or move forward with today would have a certain amount of time, sometimes in 30 days even, for us to really feel out the plan. Do we really like it? Do some more research. If we feel in our gut that it's just not right, we can always undo this in that 30-day period and consider other options at that point. Okay? It makes the folks feel a lot more comfortable out there. And then my last point to folks is, or to at least sales guys watching this, is to make sure that you thoroughly, and I mean thoroughly, understand your competition in the area, right? If it's virtual and you work virtually, that means something particularly a little different. You might want to have a general idea of the big box shops around the country. If you're in the federal, some niche market, really understand the competitors in the niche market area or what the general market might not understand about the niche that makes you an expert. And then lastly, if you're local and you're dealing with local workshops, you better understand who your major competitors are in your community and what you do that's very different from what they do. And sometimes it is just exactly the fact that I've mentioned already, that you specifically are just an educator, somebody that takes the time to teach and really get to know a prospect and give them every chance to get out off the sales funnel at any point whenever they want to. The fact that you're willing to just walk and push people away and allow them to do research, it might be the very thing that separates you from your competition. And use that information to line yourself in a place where you are unique. And particularly, that's the reason why folks in your area have chosen so often to do business with you rather than anyone else. Again, I'll go back to Belford. We've mentioned this a few times in the last few episodes of Coffee with Closers. It's three things that we're trying to accomplish. And these are particularly why you're looping back on these objections. I'm trying to make them feel very comfortable with me. Me being the person that will be here to help educate, design something, not be pushy in any way, really be a true educator in my craft, pro bono advice. It's only going to serve you. 2, the products I pitch. So the products I pitch, I need to be very well versed on how these products work. And that doesn't mean to be an engineer and go into caps and spreads and all the particulars of how an annuity or life insurance or whatever I'm selling works, securities, whatever. But know so much about a particular product and use that information sparingly, only when needed. Don't overflow it. Know it so much that you can simplify it. That's what a true educator does. Knowing something so in tune, in depth, that if they want to go to the 9 rounds, you can go the 9 rounds with anyone. But if it's particular, or if their knowledge on a subject is small, being able to simplify to that scale, that's what a good educator does. And that's what's going to help sell you as a person. Knowing your products, that's going to come in tune, again, with your ability to simplify things in a way of understanding to that prospect. And 3, your company. How are you going to pitch your company as being different from others, right? So those 3 things, you've got to get somebody to a place where they can make a decision on you, your company, and the products you're offering in a positive way. And so I say all that to say is, like, we've got to make that very clear to our prospects in the very beginning. Be more transparent. I feel like most folks are not willing to be more transparent about what they're doing in their sales process. This is not malicious. This is the vehicle in which we get to educate something that we believe passionately. Do you believe in your retirement plan? If you do, then don't be scared to acknowledge to somebody. Say, look, I'm going to walk you through a process here that's basically I'm going to do my best to educate you, because I feel like for any good relationship to start off, for anybody to want to move their entire retirement over, they need to accomplish at least 3 things. Do you know what those 3 things are? This is how I approach things in my own sales processes, in talking with advisors, even when we're talking about potentially bringing them into Megastar, whatever it might be. But for Coffee for Closers purposes, for you guys, talking to them about these 3 things. I believe in 3 things in the sales cycle, or for somebody to start working together. 3 things. I believe you need to know me. I believe you need to feel very confident about who I am and my ability to educate you. 2, I feel like you need to be very, very, very well versed on the products, at least enough to feel comfortable with the products that we're talking about. And so we're going to walk through that today in this appointment. And 3, I feel like you need to understand our firm and our mission and what makes us different. Would you guys agree with these things? Yes or no? Undoubtedly, folks are going to be, yes, absolutely, we agree with those things. Say, okay, well, let me do my best to explain those things. And quite honestly, I don't believe, or our company doesn't believe, in just forcing a plan on somebody and saying, well, that's that. We feel like you guys should have as equal a say in this as we do. And we should really just be here to educate you on the pros and cons of some sort of plan we put together. And if you don't like some of the cons, maybe we swap some of the pros out there to address some of the cons. Because you can't always have your cake and eat it too. But we're going to do our best to accomplish that. Does that make sense? Yes, that's the process. That's the program. That's the system that our firm has functioned on for the last however many years you've been in business. Those statements are what solidify yourself in a place so that down the road you can remind them of that upfront contract and put yourself in a place to eliminate all these maybes whenever they come up, right? The grand overall summary of all of this is you can't do anything about a maybe. You can't turn a maybe into a yes if you haven't set yourself up for turning those maybes into yeses at the beginning of the process. And I know that sounds convoluted and messy, but it's all about preempting the maybes before they ever come up so that they can't use them later on. They might say them. They might say maybe, 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 maybe. Oh, I don't know. We'll have to think about it. And you have to just remind them of why those maybes aren't good enough, right? With that, maybe we'll do a part 2 to this down the road. I don't know. But those are the general rules of turning maybes into yeses. And if you have questions about it, feel free to link to reach out to Megastar or check out more of the links in the bios to some of the books that we've mentioned in previous episodes. They do a lot to talk about the points I'm talking about. These aren't just original thoughts on my end. These are original thoughts from books, and the originalness coming from how I applied them to our industry. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Feel free to please leave a comment, a like, or if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and click the subscribe button. It all helps here. We'll see you next time on Coffee for Closers. Take care.